So, welcome back to another episode of the Scream Lore Build series, where I make a build that fits the story of whatever character from whatever Scream movie, with the caveat that I am not allowed to use any duplicate perks, nor am I allowed to use that character's teachable perks. And the movie we're going to be doing today is Scream 7, the only bad Scream movie in the entire franchise. For our first perk, we have Hex Undying. It's another day and it's another Ghostface for Sidney to deal with, and it's honestly getting boring at this point, but the difference between this Ghostface and the Ghostface of past is not only are they targeting Sidney directly, but they're also targeting her direct bloodline, which leads into our next perk, Hex Wretched Fate. It's pretty well established in these Scream movies, if you're close to Sidney by any means, you're not safe from Ghostface's wrath. Not Sidney's friends, not her significant others, not even background characters for that matter. And nobody knows that better than the newest addition to this franchise, Sidney Prescott's daughter. For our next perk, we have Phantom Fear. Like every other Scream movie, Sidney has to deal with yet another ghost from her past, and this one comes in the literal ghost of Stu Macher. Stu has allegedly come back from the dead and now is seeking revenge on Sidney for killing him all those years ago. For our final perk, we have Deathbound. And this perk basically just represents the end of the movie where Sidney's daughter Tatum gets kidnapped by Ghostface and Sidney has to go on an elaborate rescue mission. Anyways, that is about it for the build, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this video. Let's get into the likes and dislikes about Scream 7, and emphasis on the dislikes because my goodness, I didn't think it was possible for them to actually make a bad Scream movie, but they actually pulled it off. It's impressive to say the least because Scream has never had a bad movie. You can't really say that a movie like Scream 6 or Scream 3 are bad movies. They're entertaining, they have good pacing, they have good, they're overall just fine movies. But Scream 7 is like the first movie in this franchise that I could say that I did not enjoy watching whatsoever. But I will be fair with my assessment. I won't go too hard on the dislikes. I try to find as many likes about this movie as I possibly could. And for my very first one, I have the opening. The opening by far is probably the best part of this movie. There's really nothing in Scream 7 that kind of beats the opening, and it does lean a little too much into the realm of nostalgia, but that's kind of like the point of it. Like, they're at Stu Macher's house of all places, where two Scream movies had happened at, so there's going to be a lot of Easter eggs. And there are also a lot of other aspects that make this opening really, really cool. Like, for example, the characters. Their characters are very relatable, especially for me as a big horror fan, and have the main guy who's just nerding out over all the stab movies. It's really fun to watch.
The girlfriend was also pretty cool.
She doesn't really care all that much about the stab movies and stuff like that, or even horror movies in general, but she's still trying to entertain her boyfriend, which I really do like. All the little fake outs with the Ghostface were also pretty cool, like with the animatronic and the phone call and the boyfriend dressing up as Ghostface and sneaking up behind her. Do I wish we could have spent more time with these characters? Obviously, yes, I would love to spend more time with them, but unfortunately, it is the opening, so we do gotta get them out of the way pretty darn quick. And when Ghostface actually does come out and kills the boyfriend by pretending to be a mannequin and then burning the girlfriend alive and then burning the house with her, that scene is probably the highlight of this movie in general, and one of the best moments in the Scream franchise in general, which is really weird to say. Do I think it was a little too badass? Maybe, but I don't really care. Like, I like a badass Ghostface. Like, my favorite Ghostface are like Scream 5 and Scream 4 Ghostface, so yeah. The one major criticism I would have about the opening is why did they burn down Stu Macher's house in the first place? Like, it doesn't really make sense. Like, one, Stu Macher's house is in California and the rest of the movie takes place in New York, so you really took all that time to go across the country, burn down Stu Macher's house, and then come back and try to kill Sidney Prescott. Like, I understand why they did it, because they wanted to make this seem serious. They wanted to make Sidney think that Stu Macher actually could be alive, but they didn't really emphasize it that much. They didn't really, hammer in the fact that, hey, Stu burnt down his house, so it obviously has to be Stu. They mentioned it once in a FaceTime call with Sidney, and that's it. The rest of the movie didn't really matter at that point, so that's the only criticism I could have for the opening. But for my very next I have the hidden clues with Stu Macher. Now, all the hidden clues of who Ghostface was were really not all that great, like the egghead dude from the mental institution. Like, him deliberately knowing who Sidney was, not really that subtle and so not very good, but everything involving Stu specifically was really really well done. Like, for example, the scarring on Stu's face. Like, 1 minute Stu has scars all over his face, and then the next scene he has no scars whatsoever. It was very deliberate that it wasn't Stu halfway through the movie. And then also the mannerisms of Stu. It does feel like Stu would act that way, but it does seem highly exaggerated, kind of like a drama-filled Karen-like individual like Jennifer, I think her name was, who was the Ghostface in this movie. Like, it seemed like a very sassy and spunky middle-aged woman. Do I wish it was Stu? Yes, obviously. I would love for it to have been Stu, and I think it would have made sense to have him as the killer in this movie, honestly. But unfortunately, that did not happen. We'll get to that in my dislike section. I couldn't really justify doing 2 separate likes for both these characters because I kind of wanted to talk about them as a whole, but Sidney Prescott is by far, or Sydney Evans, I believe her name is by far the best character in this movie. She holds this movie on her back. I do like Mindy, I do like Chad, they're my favorite characters in this new age of Scream movies, but their characters really felt kind of ruined in this movie, so to speak. Not ruined, but like not the same characters we saw in Scream 5 and Scream 6, so that kind of like pushes them down a little bit. And Gail obviously exists, like she's there. Like Gail is still kicking after Scream 6, so that's cool. But I do really like Sydney's relationship with her daughter. I like their little kind of bickering that they got going on. Like, you know, Tatum thinks that Sydney thinks very low of her. She doesn't really see Tatum as a very capable individual. She sees her more as a victim than anything else, or at least that's what Tatum thinks. And Sydney is trying her best to try to avoid all the trauma that she's endured over the past, but also trying to relate to her daughter as much as she possibly can. Like, I like that dynamic about it. If there was a little bit more focus in that movie and they didn't make it annoying, I would have much preferred that over every other thing, like the boyfriend and all the friends and stuff like that. And now we have the dislikes, and I could have been very nitpicky with this movie and had like 20 different dislikes. But if I did do that, we'd probably be here for like an hour talking about Scream 7, so I'm not really trying to do that. So I kind of just kept it to 4 different dislikes, and for my very first one, I have the AI bullshit. Look, I understand that Scream's whole thing is meta commentary and talking about real life things and how they affect society in different ways. Like, for example, that movement from the late 90s with the whole violence in media leading to violence in real life from Scream 1, and the horrors of Hollywood from Scream 3, and the toxic fandom of Scream 5. Like, I like those aspects, but I really wish they did something other than AI in this movie. Like, they had the whole parasocial relationship going on between Jennifer and Sydney, you know, with their relationship, and I really wish they leaned a lot more into that and maybe did something completely different other than AI in this movie. This is mainly because I hate AI. Like, AI can be good in some circumstances, like, for example, making already made human pieces of art a little bit better. Like, for example, my thumbnails. Like, the only AI related tool I use with my content is an AI upscaling tool for my thumbnails. You know, not AI generating a thumbnail, but taking a thumbnail that I made with, like, you know, an editing software and just making it look a little cleaner, like a little crisper. And I think that's the extent of AI within content creation, but I hate the fact that there's just so much AI generated content out there in the world and people just don't really realize it. So that's the main reason why AI annoys me in general. I just wish that they did something completely different. And speaking about AI generated content, I have a very strong suspicion that the script was either completely made by AI for this movie or maybe partially made with AI, because there was just a lot of things about it. Like, for example, the pacing of this movie was just really wonky, and also some character interactions just seemed very forced and very unnatural, kind of like what AI does with certain interactions. I could be completely wrong and really just dumb, but it's just how I see it a little bit, and I'm kind of gonna run with it for the rest of my video here. For my next dislike, I really didn't like how Stu was not the killer in this movie. Now, I know a lot of people think that it's stupid that Stu was even considered to be the killer, but I personally didn't really mind it all that much. I was actually really excited to see Stu once again. Maybe that has a little bit to do with nostalgia, maybe, but at the same time, I think it makes pretty good sense to have him again. Like, one, we didn't really see him die. Like, sure, the TV fell on his head, but we didn't see Sydney go double tap Stu in the head, so like, it was still within the realm, and I'm really sad that we actually didn't get to see that. And also, the killers we got for this movie were just so god awful. Which leads into my next dislike, and that is the Ghostface characters. This was by far the worst Ghostface reveal in the entire franchise, and nobody can make an argument otherwise. I don't want, one, I don't want to hear an argument, and also I don't think you can make an argument, because one key aspect that makes at least all Ghostface at least passable is that they're intimately involved with the main cast. Now, there are outliers, like for example Mrs. Loomis, but you see Mrs. Loomis in the background of Scream 2 every so often throughout that entire movie. You also have the daughter from Scream 6, the cop's daughter. Like, yeah, she died very early on, or quote unquote died very early on, but at least she was within the main cast at one point. These Ghostface were not involved whatsoever. Like both of them together probably had like 5 minutes of screen time in the entire movie. In the entire movie. And another thing that makes every Ghostface pretty interesting is their motive. Now, you have crazy ass like Stu, who just do it for the love of the game, but the bald guy, the egghead Gargamel lookalike, what was that guy's motive? He was just there, and he wasn't even really that crazy. He was just like, I think he just wanted to get some poon from the main Ghostface lady. I think that's what it was. Maybe that was his motive. Like, if that's his motive, then fair enough, but like at the same time, he didn't even get a motive that I could remember. Like, his only purpose in the movie was just with the AI stuff. That is it. And I know that I did say that I like the parasocial aspect of this movie, but Jennifer's motive for becoming Ghostface and targeting Sydney is probably one of the worst motives I have ever seen for a Scream movie ever. Like, you're gonna get upset with Sydney that she wanted to protect her family and not go head on into a Ghostface encounter that wasn't involving her in the first place. Why would she go out of her way to go all the way to New York and try to kill a Ghostface? Like, it doesn't make any sense, and you're gonna get mad at her for that? Like, that's so dumb. Also, something dumb about this Ghostface is I think that ChatGPT forgot that Ghostface is a normal human being without supernatural capabilities, except maybe coming to life every so often. Why the absolute is Ghostface taking a human being and lifting them above his head like he's Michael Myers and pinning them onto a little fountain thing? And the explanation for why this girl is so strong, because it was the female Ghostface, by the way, it was Jennifer who killed her son in that kind of manner. The explanation they gave us is that she did Pilates. Okay. She did Pilates. That makes sense. That makes sense why she can lift a human being who's probably 50 pounds heavier than her over her head and pin them onto a spike. Yeah, that makes sense. And the last thing about Ghostface that I really didn't like is I didn't like how Ghostface didn't really have any personality in this movie. Like, for example, Ghostface in pretty much every single movie has a moment where they're talking directly to the characters in the Ghostface voice, but not one time did Ghostface ever talk to the characters directly, like in person. And also, they just felt super robotic to the point where in the theaters, I thought they were going to go to the route that Ghostface was a robot. Like, both Ghostface were just robots controlled by Stu Macher. Like, I literally thought that they were going to do that. Like, I had no other reason other than the fact that whenever, like, Ghostface got up or was just walking around, it just seemed super robotic and super inhuman. And for my final dislike, I have the characters. Now, like I mentioned before, I like Sydney's character, I like Tatum, and I kind of like the dad character as well. He really wasn't in the movie all that much, but he was a fine character. And even though I love Mindy and Chad in the rest of the movies, I didn't really care for them in this one. And the main reason for that is because they don't feel like how they did back in Scream 5 and Scream 6. Like, they feel completely different than how they did in that movie. Like, for example, Mindy. Mindy was basically a Randy Meeks stand-in. Like, she was the lady who would go over all the rules of these movies and go over all the, you know, the tropes you should look out for and stuff like that. She was that kind of character. But apparently she wants to become the next Gale Weathers for some reason. Like, even though it wasn't alluded to whatsoever in Scream 5 and Scream 6, apparently she wants to fill Gale's shoes one day, which I just don't understand. And also Chad becoming a cameraman of all things, basically just becoming cannon fodder. Yeah, right, Scream 7, yeah, right. But also the rest of the characters in this movie were really not all that interesting either. Like, they were just so boring, so bland. Like, and the only purpose of the characters in this movie was just to look creepy, to put the sus onto them. Like, that is the only reason that they exist, is to look creepy and to maybe be Ghostface, but they never did. Like, all of them died before the rest of the movie even happened. And also, Gale Weathers exists. Did you know that Gale Weathers still exists? Did you know that she's still alive after Scream 6? Well, this movie made sure that you did know that. Like, she had no effect in the ending whatsoever, and the only real effect she had in this movie was just making Sydney and Tana's relationship just a little bit more rocky, which I would think that Gale, of all characters, wouldn't do after all the character development. But then again, like, they just said, character development? What's that? Anyways, that's all I got for Scream 7, so let's move on to the Loomis meter. If you don't know what this is, it's basically just a scale from 1 to 6.
I shot him 6 times!
1 being bad and 6 being amazing, and for Scream 7, I'm going to be giving it a 2 times out of 6. I was highly debating on giving this a 1 out of 6 because I just don't like this movie whatsoever. I think it's a joke in the Scream franchise. But the opening and some aspects of it did really save it. If you want a movie that you can turn your brain off to and just, just say, I don't really care about continuity, I don't really care about authenticity, I don't really care about a good story, then you can watch Scream 7 and probably have a good time. But like, I didn't. Like, I watched it back a couple hours ago and I still didn't have a good time, so yeah. Anyways, that's about it. I'm gonna head out and I'm gonna go to bed because I am very tired. If you enjoyed Scream 7 or if you did not enjoy Scream 7, then let me know in the comments down below and I'll see you next time. Dr. Loomis, what did you think about my opinions of Scream 7?
When I want your opinion, I'll beat it out of you.
Well, you don't gotta be a dick about it.